This video of Gary Chatman Jr. is blowing up.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five, and we are ready to get after it. Today's episode is brought to you by BuyAuburn.com, where we match together Auburn-owned businesses and Auburn fans. So check it out, BuyAuburn.com. This video of Gary Chatman Jr. is exploding on social media. We're going to talk about that. And this staff's ability to do more with perceived, or at least from perception, less. Doing more with less, and I'm putting less in quotation marks. If you're listening on audio, you can't see it. But if you're watching, I'm emphasizing the quotation marks around the word less. And then Gary Chatman Jr. says he's shutting it down. We're going to break it all down. Let's jump right into it. The clip from yesterday that I posted. Now, I want to make sure I'm clear. I'm not saying that it went viral because I posted it or because I put it on the show. Could have. No, I'm kidding. But the clip yesterday of his workout with QB Doctor Atlanta, working for the QB Doctor, that post is blowing up, man. It's absolutely exploding. It got picked up by, it's pretty interesting, Dov Kleiman, at NFL Dov Kleiman, which is one of the larger like viral news aggregates for the NFL, which in other words, it's an account that takes a lot of the more viral stories and posts about them. And then, it goes from there. I mean, to give you an example, it's pretty rare, I think, for a high school story to get put on this particular account. Like, for example, the story right above it is about Tank Bigsby and how he's managing his money. Like, he's posted a video sitting in the upper deck at a basketball game, an NBA basketball game. And then you got like the quarterback battle between J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray. You got Devontae Smith video. You got obviously the Mike Vrabel, the endless story of Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini. And it's going crazy on this account. Like, it's closing in on 1 million total views, like this video. And as the kids say, there's a metric you're looking at that's a really good metric to follow, and it's the ratio. I'm sure most of you don't have to be a kid to know what that means. But basically, if there's more comments than retweets and likes, typically that means it's being hated on, because people they don't want to share it. They just want to jump in the comments and rip it apart. And it's actually performing, just as good as some of the, it's one of the top posts of the day yesterday, which is just crazy to me. Again, this video of Gary Chatman Jr. throwing against air is going viral. And I would say, like, there's a couple of people in the comments who are talking about how one of the throws was underthrown, and like, sure, whatever. But I think most of it is just literally that release is so quick and so perfect, honestly, that I think people, it's pleasing to the eye. Like, I can sit and watch this thing on a loop over and over and over again. Great publicity. I think the Auburn's biggest concern now is, could the NFL change their rules and draft him out of high school? I mean, that could be Auburn's biggest competition. Obviously, I'm joking. There's going to be people that take this as saying, oh my God, here you go again, turning another 3-star into the best player in the world, which I feel like, honestly, it's not just just me, but like across the Auburn podcast world, I think most people are being realistic when it comes to quarterbacks and quarterbacks in general, and in general, Gary Chatman Jr. Think he's got all the upside in the world. Obviously, his attributes other than his height are elite. I think if he were probably 6'3", he'd probably be a top 250 player. Under a little bit undersized, and I think that's just going to be something that he has to battle. But like as the game changes, smaller quarterbacks are having, success in the NFL. I mean, I could go down the list if you want me to. I just mentioned one earlier. Doesn't necessarily mean that talking about him or talking about this video means that anyone thinks he's about to walk in and start day one. Doesn't mean that everybody thinks, oh, he's going to be like the next big thing at Auburn. He's going to be the next Nick Marshall. He's going to be the next this. He's going to be the next that. It's just fun. Hey, you got a quarterback commit. He was flying a little bit under the radar, doesn't have a ton of offers, and now all of a sudden he's starting to explode on social media after you get him, after he commits to Auburn. It's kind of fun to see committing to Auburn be somewhat of a media launching pad. This happens all the time, by the way, where kids commit to bigger schools or a bigger school offers an underrated, again, quotation marks, underrated kid, and then all of a sudden his stock explodes. That happens all the time. Sometimes it happens when he goes to a camp. Sometimes it happens when he has a big game on, his senior year. And sometimes it happens with an offer, and sometimes it happens with a commit. Now it's like, boom, a bunch of eyes are on this kid because a bigger brand is associated with him. And it's also not uncommon for like viral clips like this to have a kid's stock explode. I don't think it necessarily changes anything about the situation with Auburn. We're going to talk about that there, towards the end, because I think shutting it down is significant. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see this Auburn guy future Auburn guy get a lot of love and see that video start to explode. Obviously, there's a lot of haters. If you go look in the comments, there's a lot of people praising it, a lot of haters. I'd say it's a good mix. It's a good mix. So many. I didn't realize there were so many quarterback experts out there. Lot of quarterback experts out there with meme names and cartoon profile pictures. It's kind of wild. This is the kind of quarterback, though, that this offensive staff, has had a lot of success with. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. But before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to buyauburn.com. Do business with Auburn people everywhere. Sign up today if you're an Auburn-owned business. You could be an alumni. You could be a fan. Doesn't matter. Check it out. And, hey, by the way, we're launching a new podcast on the weekend. It's only going to be posted on weekends. It's audio only. It's just going to be called the buyauburn.com podcast, where we're going to do business shout out. So if you want to be a member, as far as from a business perspective of buyauburn.com, it's less than $1 a day. You could get a free business shout out podcast where we talk Auburn football and then talk about your business. So if you're a fan, do business with Auburn people first. It's buyauburn.com. Drop some new merch at aushirts.com. You definitely want to go check that out. A lot of really cool hats and lightweight hoodies. If you're like me and you go to the pool, you don't want to get sunburned, but you don't want to wear something heavy, these things are perfect for that. As summer rolls around, good to help you keep from getting sunburned. And then if you need a good real estate agent in the Auburn area, hit me up. Auburn, Opelika, Lee County, doesn't matter. Really anywhere in the state of Alabama. Kyle Rush at kw.com. Would love to help you out. We'll be back right after this. This is the kind of guy. Let me back up really quick. This staff has done more, remember the quotation marks, with less basically their whole career. And when I say with less, it is no knock on any of the guys. I'm not saying like they're taking guys that don't have any talent and going and winning with them. They're taking guys that are bums and making them serviceable. That ain't what I'm saying. I'm just saying that they're not taking, their career has not been made off of taking guys that were 5 stars, high 4 stars, and then doing what is expected with those type players. They're taking a lot of underranked guys, overlooked guys, and maximizing their ability, I guess. So that's what I mean when I say more with less. I'm not saying they're taking, dudes off the street and winning. They're taking college football players, guys that are college D1 prospects, but maybe just not quite as highly ranked as others, and then maximizing their ability. I mean, you go back to Joel Gordon at Iowa State with Brock Purdy. He had one of his best or two of his best years. His best year in college football was under Joel Gordon in 2019 when he was the passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach. He threw for 4,000 yards almost, 3,900 yards, 27 touchdowns to only 9 interceptions, completed 65% of his passes. So Brock Purdy, obviously he's doing really, really well in the NFL, or has done well in the past. Wasn't necessarily like a super rock star in college, but I mean, again, threw for 4,000 yards under Joel Gordon as the passing game coordinator. You go to, and again, Brock Purdy, not very highly rated out of high school. You go over to Central Florida. When they slide over to Central Florida, you had Dylan Gabriel, who was a middling 3-star guy. And the year 2020, the only year that Golesh was there and was the offensive coordinator, he had his best statistical season, and it was only in 10 games. That was the COVID year. He threw for 50 more yards per game in that season than he did any other season. Very high, I believe, completion percentage. Well, I say high, 60% completion percentage, 32 touchdowns. Threw the most touchdowns that he threw in college. Granted, remember, he played at Oklahoma and he played at Oregon. Threw for more touchdowns in that year in 10 games than he did at Oregon in 14 games. More yards per game, more everything, okay? Less interceptions. I think he threw for one less interception the next year at Central Florida. Just really, really good statistical season, that particular season. Then you move over to Tennessee and Hendon Hooker, okay? Hendon Hooker, I'm going to be true to the ranking, the industry average, composite, whatever you want to look at, on 247 had him as a lower 4-star, but ESPN had him as a 3-star. Rivals has him as a 3-star, and he didn't really perform that well. Nothing world-breaking, world-beating at Virginia Tech. He threw for 1,500 yards one year. He threw for 1,300 yards the next year. Fast forward to his first year, so look at the jump he made from 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns to right at 3,000 yards and 31 touchdowns. Went from 65% completion percentage to 68. Went from 5 interceptions to 3. Just absolutely exploded. And then the very next year, when they led the world in offense, 3,100 yards passing, 27 touchdowns, and 60, his highest completion percentage. Then you go to South Florida. Byron Brown, believe it or not, was not a very highly ranked quarterback. He was the nation's 1,158th prospect. And his first season under Golesh, he threw for over 3,000 yards. The second season, there was a lot of injuries at quarterback, so whatever. And then last year, we all know what he did last year, 3,000, 1,000. We've talked about it a billion times. So I say all that to say, if anyone can pick out a guy when you're in a pinch, when you're behind the eight ball, you miss on your top guy, which, there's no doubt and there's no getting around that. They missed on Will Minsell, their top guy. If anyone can pick out a quote unquote diamond in the rough, if anyone can take perceived less and do more with it, it's this staff. They've literally done it every year. They've ran or been in control of an offense with guys that are unheralded, guys that don't have the 5-star ranking, guys that, were overlooked. Now, I don't think that's a business model. I don't think that you're going to, eventually, that's not the most ideal thing. Like if you could choose, I think they're going to choose to go try to get the best guy they can get. And obviously they shot their shot there at Will Minsell. It's just, situations, depth chart, changing staffs, being maybe behind the eight ball with Auburn and Will Minsell. Remember, his mother her first visit to Auburn was like in March or something like that. First time she's ever been to Auburn. Well, when you're making a commitment like shortly thereafter, that's not ideal. They're just behind. So again, I don't think it's this thing where they're always going to be looking for the lower rated guy and trying to make him, explode. But if they got to do it, this is a pretty good staff with a pretty good track record of doing it. So we'll see what happens. There. We talked about it on Zach's show today as well, but Gary Chatman Jr. saying he's shutting it down, and I want to look at it from a different perspective, and I kind of alluded to it in the first segment. Now, sometimes guys get out over their skis, okay? And they say things before they really – you say things before you really see all your options, I guess. Okay? And I know that Gary Chatman Jr. wants to stay close to home. Auburn checks that box. Wanted to play in the SEC. Auburn checks that box. So it's very, very likely that this is the only this is the place for him. Okay? It's higher than, not 100%, but I would say pretty dang close to 100% that he ends up at Auburn. But again, there's over 1 million views now of his workout video. Or close to 1 million. I would imagine if you aggregated all of social media, Instagram and Twitter, probably over 1 million views of that, with a lot of really good feedback. Okay? His stock is on the way up. It would be a wise business decision to not say, I'm shutting it down, because let's just be honest, these guys, this is a business now. So if you're looking for leverage, if you're looking for the potential to maximize, you might not want to say you're shutting it down. You might want to say, hey, I'm locked into Auburn right now, but I'm keeping my options open. Or I'm locked into Auburn right now, but you never know. I mean, that would be if you're just in it for, the business aspect of it, which is important now. I mean, a lot of times these high school guys going into college, that's the most value they'll ever have, because not everybody makes it to the NFL. Shutting it down is saying you're shutting it down is not a real wise business decision from a money perspective, which I think speaks to his character, speaks to his appreciation, speaks to his seriousness, excitement to come to Auburn and play for this staff. I think that's a big deal. So this is fun. I mean, the Gary Chatman Jr. stuff, I mean, again, it's May 12th. It's still, honestly, Auburn's still ahead of schedule. It's really, we're almost to like where Auburn's classes usually take off, which is, towards the middle to end of May, June, July. That's when you really do your work and start racking up commits, because you want to have as many as possible heading into the football season. So this is fun to talk about right now. I mean, getting a relatively unknown guy and then seeing his stock soar, his recognition explode on social media. It's a lot of fun. Let me know what you think about that. Guys, I really appreciate you listening. Don't forget to go to buyauburn.com today. See what we got all on there, and we're continuing to add businesses every single day. We really appreciate it. We'll talk again tomorrow. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.